If you think this has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention.
Welcome to the Throne of the Dragon podcast, the show that covers each and every episode of HBO's House of the Dragon. I'm Josh.
And I'm Curtis.
And this is a podcast all about House of the Dragon.
I seriously thought you were about to say this is a podcast about a podcast.
And this is a podcast about a podcast.
Oh, man.
Go ahead and kill yourself now.
Oh, my God.
You don't want to sit through that. You don't want to sit through
does
that.
not promote suicide, okay? So
just jam something sharp into your ear so you don't have to listen to a podcast about a podcast.
instead, listen to this podcast about House of the Dragon.
So this is the first one, covering the very first episode of House of the Dragon. I don't know, I guess we should probably give a little bit of background. We both host another show called the Red Right Hand Podcast, which if you're coming over from there, hey, it's good to be back.
Hi.
Good to be with you guys.
Can't believe you guys stuck around this long, but okay.
But if not, that's another show that we do that covers every episode of the Peaky Blinders. And it's a rewatch podcast with light spoilers, not a whole lot there. I feel like we usually like to take things week by week there, but so check that one out if you're looking for a Peaky Blinders podcast. But this one is not about the Peaky Blinders. This one is all about House of the Dragon.
Yes.
I'm terrible about this because I think I'm so terrible about this because we had to make up our own names for episodes for so long, doing the Peaky Blinders pod.
Yeah.
But did you catch what the name of this episode was?
Yeah, I did, but I can't remember. Something about the heir of something, isn't it?
Is it Heirs of the Dragon?
The Heirs of the Dragons. That's it.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And I know,
doesn't it feel so nice and refreshing though to not have to make up your own episode titles anymore?
it's way better. It was like the first 3 seasons of Peaky, we had to make up all the episode titles.
It's so weird.
Like the first one I
were you
get.
guys just so lazy?
Yeah, the first one I get. By the time we're in season 3, that's a little odd.
Yeah, exactly.
So I know how much you love just beating something into the ground over and over and over until it's completely worn out. Just referring to Michael saying he was going to kill Tommy Shelby.
Oh God.
And Polly's her vision
there
that
will be a war.
There'll be a war, and one of you's going to die. In this episode, we are really going to hammer home that this show is about the succession. It is about the line of Viserys Targaryen, like about the the continuing line in the Targaryen dynasty. The very first scene in the episode. Kind of, what did you make of that? What do you feel like's going on there? It's the old King Jaehaerys.
It's definitely, a little history lesson before you get into, the current situation.
Yeah, we're 9 years before really where the show starts at.
Right. So I really like that. And then, of course, the whole title, the small title card saying that, was it 172 years before the Mad King and what's her name? Amelia Clark's character?
Daenerys,
yeah. Targaryen come along. So I thought they did a good job of setting it up. Especially for a guy like me who has no clue what the hell is going on. I shouldn't say I have no clue at all, but I don't know. I haven't watched a single episode of Game of Thrones. I don't know how I got invited onto this podcast. No, I know I thought it set up really good.
We should probably preface with that. So we talked on the Red Right Hand about kind of what the setup for this show was going to be. And me being a little bit more knowledgeable about Westeros and book things and stuff like that.
I was gonna say you've seen every episode of Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah, and
And you've read the books too, haven't you?
Yeah, I've read the main novels, The Song of Ice and Fire,
Right.
and the Dunk and Egg books. And I've read part of Fire and Blood, but not enough to really get into this.
Right.
And then your experience with it being that you never watched Game of Thrones, like you probably only have kind of pop culture references for
Basically, yeah.
a lot of the things in that world. So
yeah, winter is coming.
Yeah. So that was kind of the idea with this pod, to get one of us who had no idea what was going on and somebody who could kind of yeah, who could kind of fill in the gaps. So what were you saying?
What we're talking? Oh, about the first scene.
Yeah.
I just liked how it was set up. I mean, it felt like a nice little intro into what we're about to get into. Of, this is, I'm gonna butcher all these names. I know I am, but whatever. King Jaehaerys.
Yep, Jaehaerys.
Yeah, Jaehaerys. Picking a successor to the throne, which he picks. What's his name? Viserys?
Yes, Viserys.
Okay, Viserys. It's gonna take me a little while, man. But hopefully by the time we get done with this season, I'll have these names down. But anyway, picking a successor to his throne, he ends up picking Viserys over what's her name?
Rhaenys.
Rhaenys, yeah.
Yeah.
People are gonna kill me in the comments section. This dude is an idiot. Curtis, you're illiterate, bro.
That's the whole point of this, is that you know nothing about.
I am mainly here for comedic relief, I guess. Apparently.
Yeah, anything in this world.
Yes. Anyway,
I'm gonna walk
just setting that up.
it.
Of yes, please guide me. I am blind. Please guide me through this land. No, but anyway, setting up the successor to his throne, which he picks Viserys. Which there was when they're then they kind of made it seem like, or make it sound like what's her name again? Rhaenys.
Rhaenys?
Rhaenys.
Yeah, the
anyway,
one
they
who's
kind of
the
made it
other
sound
option.
like, yeah, they made it sound like she's kind of jealous. Which, I mean, why wouldn't you be? If you didn't get picked for that. I do have one quick question for you, real quick.
Okay.
I'm a little confused here because this timeline, or not the timeline, but the family tree here, it makes it look like that there's some.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, it looks like there's some. What's the word? I can't think of the incest.
Oh, does it? Does it look like that? Huh.
I didn't know. Well, it's funny because, like, I told you I was looking at this earlier this morning, and I just, like, for some reason didn't even notice that. And then right before we started, you probably heard me make the noise. I was like, oh, no. Which I know there's some stuff in Game of Thrones, because there was some people talking about that. Some of that stuff in Game of Thrones. But yeah, this thing like caught me off guard. So it turns out, oh crap! Turns out that.
Let me ask you this: why do you think, or were you looking at a bunch of these people and you were like, why do these people all look exactly the same?
Yeah, kind of. Of course, then I look at Damien and I'm like, God, that dude looks like he's jacked up in the face. He may be the product. I mean, it is his parents, so he may be the product.
That's just Matt Smith's face.
Oh man. But no, it looks like Damien and Viserys' parents were brother and sister.
Who now?
Damien and Viserys. parents,
Yes,
which
I
would
believe
be
so.
Balon and Alyssa.
Yeah, I think so.
Because it
I mean, it
says,
happens.
let me show you.
It happens a
Yeah.
lot with the Targaryens. That's like part. Yeah, that's like
What is this? Was this like the McPoyles, man? We got to keep the bloodline pure.
yeah, kind of. So they have what they're trying to protect is their connection with the dragons, basically.
Right.
So they call it dragon's blood, and it's kind of unclear if it's like a mental connection or there is like some kind of physical connection. Because
Right,
they
but doesn't that
can
kind of get debunked at the end of this episode? I'm
see
not trying to
like
skip
that.
ahead, but
Yeah.
Viserys kind of made a reference
Well,
to that whole thing.
we're gonna
So
have a few things that are canon in this show, and we're gonna have some things that have kind of been expanded a little bit for the purposes of the show.
okay.
Um, because yeah, it's not clearly stated like in the books what the deal is, you know.
Right, yeah.
But they're trying to preserve like this dragon power basically. And so yeah, a lot of times it is tradition um for them to wed like brother to sister and stuff. And there's it's usually like I think the second sons and like the other kids who will marry outside of the family um for like diplomatic purposes, you know.
Okay,
So
yeah.
like Damon's wife, she's at Runestone, which is in the Vale. Um and that's like another huge area that like they're like the House Aaron is the wardens like the I think it's the east wardens of the east there.
Okay.
And so Damon's he's the second son, so he's like married out of the family. But
Outside,
the thing with Viserys too though is like Viserys isn't married to
No, I must say she's
like his
outside the
sister.
family.
Yeah. Or actually is she the Aaron?
Yeah, she's Aaron.
Okay.
Yeah, Damon's wife is a Royce, Ray Royce.
Oh, okay. That's another big house in the Vale, but yeah,
Okay.
same area.
Okay.
And the reason, because also too, like the reason that what's her face, Viserys' wife,
yeah. Amia,
Aema, I think.
Ama,
Yeah,
Ama,
you usually
yeah.
say that like A-E, like A. So she looks like Viserys, you know, like she has like the Targaryen look, and that's because they are cousins. Like I
Okay.
forgot, like yeah. So
Okay.
there is a lot of there's a lot of ties to the Targaryens, like familial ties. Like later on in the tournament, you hear one of the Baratheons whenever he's kind of talking shit to Rhaenys, like asking for a favor, calling her the queen that never was.
Yeah.
She calls him cousin, and that's because the
Yeah.
Baratheons and the Targaryens are cousins because of the Conqueror. His like half brother was the first Baratheon.
Okay.
I know it's going to get convoluted at times, man. You're
There's
just
not
going
a
to have to
test at the
ride
end of the
with me
season,
and
is
try
there?
to. There may be. I may do you like that. How you feeling about Paddy Considine?
Who?
Paddy Considine. He's the dude who played the priest in Peaky Blinders. Isn't that his name?
Oh, yeah. Okay, as this playing Viserys. Yeah, actually, I remember telling you when we watched the trailer that it was going to be hard for me to really like him because of his character in Peaky Blinders.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna lie, I think he's done a pretty good job so far in the first episode.
Yeah, I
I
him.
liked him. I enjoy it. So
yeah.
Not so much. I mean, I understand what he was trying to do
with what
with the pregnancy part, but that part made me uncomfortable, man.
Yeah,
so uncomfortable.
Something like that is just such a like. What do you do? in the moment. And like,
Yeah.
I don't know, if you sit there and like try to let things sort itself out, like I said, if we don't do something now, we got to put it in the God's hands. Then
Yeah.
what if
I
here in a
don't
few minutes they're both gone, and now you're asking
Yeah.
yourself, like, could I have saved one of them? Yeah, it's too tough to try
Yeah.
to.
Right.
But before we get too far, I do want to run through a few scenes. So like you said, we start in the beginning with the succession of Jaehaerys, Viserys Arrhenius. The scene's narrated by Raniera, who is
Yes.
our main character that we're going to see coming up. Then we flash forward 9 years into Viserys's reign. Just so you're not confused, Rhaenyra is not 9 years old. That was not like when her mom was like Aemma was pregnant in the first scene. That was not her.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Be one of the babies that she talked about later on.
Yeah, one of the babies that she talked about losing.
So would she already be born though?
Yes.
Okay. So she's older than 9.
I think they're thinking she's like 15, 16,
like,
17,
yeah, that's what I
something
was
in
thinking.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they really want to emphasize to you that they want you to know where we're at in the timeline. They're like, this is 172 years before like Game of Thrones takes place.
Right.
Like, that's it,
There is no mistake here, people.
It is way in the past.
Even
this
I can get that, man.
Yeah, they're not like, this is not going to end with like the first scene in Game of Thrones,
Right, yeah.
Like this, yeah. They're not going to Better Call Saul it.
Is that what happened in Better Call Saul?
Well, I haven't watched like this last season, but it like the timeline so far has run pretty much right up to it. So
gotcha.
Yeah. So then we meet Rhaenyra for the first time, and she's on her dragon Cyrax. There's going to be a lot of dragons and a lot of names of dragons, but a lot of them have kind of a cool meaning to go along with what they are. I can't remember the name of Damon's dragon, but it means the bloodworm, and I feel like that's pretty fitting because his is very like serpent looking and got kind of weird wings and stuff.
Okay. What is her dragon name mean?
I don't know what Cyrax means.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So then we're going to meet a couple other characters for the first time. Harold Westerling. He's one of the Kingsguard. If you don't know what the Kingsguard are, they are the group of 7, I believe, that it's basically like a kind of like a sacred order, and they take those vows until death. Usually some really great fighters from some really prominent houses go out for Kingsguard. Yeah. So it's pretty elite group of fighters, and their job is just the protection of the king and his family. Right. So there's usually 1 or 2 of them with you most of the time, or at least like posted up outside wherever you are.
Like the Secret Service.
Yeah. Then that's Harold Westerling. The Westerlings are a house in the Westerlands. That's where like the Lannisters are. Yeah, they're actually in the Northernlands.
The Westernlands or the Northernlands? Yeah.
Then we also meet Alicent Hightower. She's the daughter of the Hand of the King, Otto Hightower, and she's just best friends with Rhaenyra.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask you what was going on.
I'm thinking Rhaenyra's into her.
Okay, that's I wondered because I was like, I mean, girls are a little different with their best friends sometimes, especially in medieval ages like that and stuff. So I don't know. So I was kind of like, well, maybe they're just really good friends.
Yeah, who knows?
Who knows?
But yeah, I think that's kind of what they're trying to get you to think.
What, that they're more than friends?
Well, that she's interested in her and Alicent is not interested.
Gotcha.
So then we get our first shot of the Red Keep. The Red Keep is it's like the castle in the middle of the capital, essentially. King's Landing is the capital in Westeros. It's where the crown is, like that's where the king's seat is, and the Red Keep is the castle inside the city.
Okay.
They gave us a little reminiscent Game of Thrones theme music there. It's not exactly the same. It's one of those where it's the main themes kind of there, but they pepper in like a bunch of other stuff to kind of it's a little bit different. It's a
Kind of
little
hide
tweaked.
it.
Yeah. So then we meet Queen Aemma the first time. We see that she's pregnant again. And yeah, that was when I was going to ask you, what do you think all these people look alike? What do you think all these Targaryens look like? They're all one.
They're all the same.
Yeah. So after that, we're at a small council meeting, and this is probably where things start getting a little convoluted for you again.
Okay.
Because they're trying to just throw a bunch of stuff at you in this first episode. Because like I said, I don't know how far we're gonna go like over the next couple episodes, but I mean, the trailer for this season shows many of them substantially older.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know at what point we're gonna get there, but so they're trying to throw a lot of stuff at you here pretty quick. We're at the small council meeting. We're going to meet a few other people. Grand Maester Mellos. Do you know what a maester is?
A maester?
Yeah.
Oh, when I first read that, I thought it said Grandmaster.
Grandmaster.
Okay. Okay. No, I don't. I mean, like, he looks like a monk or a priest or whatever. So I didn't know if he had to do something with the like religious or anything.
So it's less religion and more academic.
Okay.
There's a place called the Citadel, which is in Old Town, which is where Otto Hightower, that's where his family's seat is. The Hightowers of Old Town.
Right.
There's a place called the Citadel there, and they train these people called maesters. And maesters are basically like an advisor, kind of. Like they're really well versed. They know their history, they know their medicine, they know, like they're more scholarly. Think of it as a person who's like dedicated their entire life just to knowledge.
Right. That's why I was about to say a scholar.
Yeah, and they're sent to all the great houses of Westeros. So the Starks have a maester, the Lannisters have a maester, the Aarons have a maester. And then there's the Grand Maester, who is kind of above the others. He's like an elected position by the maesters.
Right.
And he is advisor to the king at the time. So we've got Grand Maester Mellos, Otto Hightower. It's when we get him for the first time. Hand of the King, that's basically vice, it's kind of like a vice president type. Right. Your right-hand man,
Right.
Corlys Velaryon, who is the master of ships. And I can't remember who the other guy is there. He's not super important. He's from another pretty big house, but he's not super important.
Okay.
And Corlys Velaryon is telling them a little bit about some stuff we're going to start seeing. So there's these islands called, what do you say, the Stepstones or the Footstones? I think it's the Stepstones.
I can't remember.
But they're a big part of controlling the trade around them.
Right.
And there's a group calling themselves the Triarchy that are kind of causing some trouble down there. I think Corlys said that they were attacking the pirates that were there. And so everybody's kind of like, okay, whatever, that's cool. That helps us out. But Corlys kind of warns them, like, we don't want this Triarchy getting too big.
Out of hand,
like
basically,
we don't want them as, something that's going to threaten us here.
Basically saying we need to keep them in check.
Yeah. They introduce another character who's going to be pretty big, but just by name, the crab feeder. And
Yeah,
we'll
what the
see.
heck?
Yeah, we're gonna see. Well, it's basically like he kills you. It's
With
like
a
it's like a
crab.
naval thing, like he kills you on the sea, like he's feeding
Gotcha.
the crabs. Yeah.
Gotcha. There's other
Um,
things in the sea besides crabs, though, people. I mean, he could have been the
shark
shark
feeder,
eater. He could have been the octopus feeder. Come on. Crabs.
kraken feeder.
A kraken.
So yeah, just kind of like a warning from Corliss there. Corliss also, I'm sure you picked this up. He's married to Rhaenys.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I will say I didn't pick it up in this scene. I didn't pick it up until they were at the tournament and he was sitting next to her. And then I realized that that's their two kids that were in front of them,
Okay. Well,
or
they were
maybe a couple of rows in front of, or whatever.
yeah, they were together in the
At
first
the,
scene too.
yeah. And I didn't even notice that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's married to Rhaenys.
Okay.
Boop, boop, boop. Oh yeah, I was like, I know, like you got to find a place kind of at court for all your relatives, but I was a little surprised that Raniera was Viserys cupbearer. Like that was just kind of like an odd position for her to have. I don't
Yeah. But
know.
like, what else are you going to do, though?
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, because it's not like she's a
The
princess at
damn
the time or anything.
patriarchy. The damn patriarchy. I do think she's already a princess of Dragonstone, though. I think that's usually how that goes. The like all the other siblings are usually one might be the heir, but the others are princes and princesses of Dragonstone. Dragonstone is
Right.
like the Targaryens. It's where they landed off the coast of Westeros. They built their castle there. Like when you see Viserys making that model in that room, that's
Yeah.
Dragonstone.
Okay. Okay.
And
I
that
wonder
was where
what
the
that was.
Targaryens lived for years and years and years before they eventually conquered Westeros. So it's just off the coast of Westeros.
Okay. Okay.
So then we start talking about the Heirs Tournament a little bit. And this tournament's going to be sick as hell. But yes, they're having a tournament for Viserys's unnamed heir yet. The Macers have basically told him that during this time is when Aemma will most likely give birth.
Right.
So the tournaments just kind of celebrate that. They like throw tournaments, it appeases the people, lets people let out some aggression.
Right. Nice little entertainment.
Yeah. This is kind of our first mention of Damon. They ask if Damon's been back to the city yet, and they say no, but I'm sure he'll turn up for the tournament. So Damon Targaryen is Viserys' younger brother, and the heir as of right now.
Right.
But he returns, and he and Rhaenyra have a conversation in the throne room. It's kind of a power move, him sitting on the throne. It's one of those things that's just not really done. And it's kind of reminiscent to in Game of Thrones, how Ned talks about whenever they took King's Landing, like when they took the Targaryens down, when he came into the throne room, Jaime Lannister was sitting on the Iron Throne. So yeah, it's just kind of I don't know, it's a sign of intention. Not that was necessarily Jaime's intention, but yeah, it's kind of a sign of intention from Damon.
For sure. Yeah.
They are
there's really no other way about that. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
going to sit on the throne like that, you want it. I just need to sit down, and this chair was open, so I thought I'd sit down in it. I didn't know the implications.
And in this scene, it's the first time we see him speaking their native language, which I can't remember if it's High Valyrian. I'm pretty sure it's High Valyrian, but I can't remember if it's High Valyrian or Low Valyrian.
Right.
But you'll hear a lot of that over the course of the show.
Okay.
And he brings her a necklace that has a piece of Valyrian steel on it. So Valyrian steel, think of it in the real world as Damascus steel.
Okay.
You know how like now Damascus steel can't be it can't be created basically. We can create the effect. Like we can create the look of it, but we can't create the strength of the steel. It's one of those like lost arts. Like there's nobody who like at a certain point, probably because of some genocide over time, like they lost that. There's nobody to pass it on. Okay. And so Damascus steel is the practice of like rolling the steel and folding it over so many times that it just becomes like so thick.
Right.
And kind of the same thing with Valyrian steel. It's made in a special way. And there's only, I think there's only a couple people left in the world in the time of Game of Thrones who can repurpose the steel. Like it can't be recreated. It can't be made from nothing like it was before. But if you come across some Valyrian steel, it can be reconstructed. But there's only like 2 or 3 guys left in the world who can do that. At this point, there's still Valyrian steel out there. I mean, it's past the doom of Valyria, but there's a lot more weapons floating around made from it. Damon has a sword called Dark Sister, which is what Raniera mentions right there. She says, "Oh, Valyrian steel, just like Dark Sister." Dark Sister was one of the swords used by the conquerors. The other sword is called Blackfire, and Viserys carries it. It's that huge sword he has.
Yeah. Okay.
And that was the sword of Aegon the Conqueror. So the king always carries Blackfire, and usually a brother or a sister carries Dark Sister.
Okay.
So yeah, just that little scene between them. They do try to give you some vibes during that scene of like, oh, is there something kind of going on between them? You know, like, which wouldn't be super weird for them, but as we see,
it's
kind of before,
weird for us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like we see before the episode ends. You know, none of this is going to matter.
Yeah.
Like we're about to go opposite sides here, so none of this is going to matter.
Right.
So then we just have a little scene between Alicent and Rhaenyra, just kind of showing you that Rhaenyra doesn't really necessarily have a want for the throne. And we see it's kind of a recurring theme in Game of Thrones. The people who don't want it are usually the people most suited to it.
Right.
Like we say that about politics a lot, just in the real world. You know, you got to be a real psychopath to want to go into politics. So yeah, just kind of a scene showing that's not really what she's looking for. You know, it also kind of reminded me of Arya in Game of Thrones. Like they're constantly telling her, like, "Oh, when you grow up, you're gonna be a lady of a house and marry some lord and all this stuff," you know, and she just constantly says like, "That's not really me," you know, like it's not what I'm into. So then we have a scene with Viserys having a wound treated by the maesters. Yeah, what do you make of this?
All I can think of is thank God we live in the now, because I mean I think about like medical practices back then, and it's like, ugh. Because you know, at one point they're talking about, well, we could just put another leech on it. It's like, oh no, don't put a leech on me.
Yeah, they leech a lot.
Yeah. What did they say they think it is? Did they say? I thought they said something about what they thought it was.
Well, I think he says that it's just a cut from the throne,
Yeah,
because that's the thing here. Like,
which
you
we
got
see
to
that later on. It
remember,
gets cut from it, but yeah,
yeah, you got to remember the throne is made from thousands of swords. It's more of a
right,
symbolic throne, you know?
right. I'm not really supposed to
Um,
sit on this thing.
um, yeah, I mean, they do say that somebody who is not like somebody who doesn't know how to sit on the Iron Throne could easily like kill themselves
Right,
because there's points from swords sticking out all over the place.
right.
Um, yeah, and the sword is forged from the throne is forged from thousands of swords. They were
Which is
basically
pretty
just
cool.
piled and
Yeah,
yeah, then melted with dragon fire.
right.
So, also I love the Iron Throne in this one.
Yeah, it's
I,
pretty
I
cool
hated
looking.
it in Game of Thrones, just terrible. Yeah, this one is so good. The swords like all over the floor and everything. Um,
It's all pussy and everything. Not the
oh,
not
his
the throne,
wound,
but
yeah,
his wound.
yeah. Well,
The throne
and
was all pussy.
so we've got some symbolism here
Okay.
and we're
I
going to see
wondered
it
if there might
again.
be.
Yeah, we're in this scene, and then we're going to see it again when he and Damon talk later, when he cuts his
He
finger
cuts himself.
on the throne.
Okay.
There's a festering wound here. There's
Okay.
many festering wounds here. And so that's kind of symbolic for the realm as a whole. There's several things that are not being treated that are kind of about to go off.
Okay.
Um,
Which does that kind of tie back to kind of like when they're at the council room and they're talking about the people that were attacking the pirates or whatever, and basically kind of saying we got to keep them in check, where I mean, there's different things that are popping up, kind of like that. Is that what you're saying?
yes.
Yeah. Of course,
Well, yeah,
then you got the whole
and
thing with Damon
the
too,
stuff with Damon. Yeah, that's like the
and
other part
then
of
the
this.
pregnancy, and yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Things with Raniera, the way he's like dealt with her,
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I had a
so
feeling like when that scene ended, I was like, okay, there's something deeper than just,
yeah,
hey, by the way, the king's got a wound.
yes.
Let's go look at it.
Yeah. Um, so then Viserys, he's with Aemma, she's in the bath, and he tells her about the dream he's had. And the dream is from the trailer. And right now the dream can kind of be interpreted, or yeah, there's at least in one of the trailers, he gives that line. I heard
Oh, okay.
the clanging of swords and the splintering of shields and the thundering of hooves. And right now, there's two things that can kind of apply to. One, the tournament, because during the tournament was when he lost his wife and his child,
Right.
and the other being the war that's about to come.
That's coming. Yeah.
Um, for the Targaryens, dreams are important. Um, Rhaegar had kind of the same. If I remember right, Rhaegar, who is Daenerys's brother, he had kind of the same dream that Aegon had about the end of things. The dragon has three heads. I don't want to go too deep into all that kind of stuff for you. It's a lot of prophecy stuff, and it all gets really deep. But anybody who knows kind of the deeper stuff on that will know what I'm talking about.
Right.
The Targaryens originally fled Valyria, which that's where they were from. That's where it's like Dragon Lord City. It's like like where all the Dragon Lords were from, all the different houses, because the Targaryens are just one of many.
Okay.
Um, one of the women had a dream. I think Daenerys the Dreamer, I think. She had a dream about the end of Valyria, about the doom, like a cataclysmic event that would end it forever. So based on that, they basically packed up all their people, their house, and got the fuck out. And that's when they went to Dragonstone. And shortly after, like a few years after, was the doom of Valyria.
Okay.
So the dreams are important. So
Okay.
when we see a Targaryen having a dream, pay attention to that.
Okay.
Aemma tells him, she talks to him about the 5 children they've lost. This is going to be my last one. I can't try again.
I can't do it.
Okay, so they can't find a place for Damon. We find out later that Viserys had made him master of laws, and they said he was a tyrant. They made him
Go ahead.
master of coin, and Otto said that he was going to beggar the realm because he was so cheap.
Yeah. Was the Golden Guard or something? The Gold Guard?
The gold cloaks.
The Gold Cloaks. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so they put him in charge of the gold cloaks, which is the city watch. It's usually about, I think it's just about 2,000 men. I can't remember how many it is in Game of Thrones, but still a good chunk of guys, and they're in charge of keeping the peace. Think of it like cops, basically.
Okay.
And he takes over, whips him into shape, and then the brutality commences. So we're coming up on the tournament, and Damon's going to clear out all the riffraff, basically.
Right.
And they go out, they're killing thieves, rapists, murderers. It gets pretty brutal. And then right after that, we're going to see a lot of like action and then reaction in this. We're going to see a lot of Damon doing things and the immediate response in the council chambers to what Damon is up to.
What he did, yeah.
So they're having a council meeting. Otto brings up everything that Damon's done. He says that he can't stand. I like that line that Damon gives when Viserys says, "I hope you don't have to, maim half the city to restore law and order." And he just says,
Yeah.
"Well, time will tell. We'll see."
We'll find out.
Yeah. I do like Damon, which sucks because like I feel like I lean more towards Raniera in the war. She's got a lot of the houses that I support more with her.
Okay.
But I do really like Damon's character. And then we're also seeing too, I think if I remember right, this will pay off more later, but we see that Corlys Valerian does kind of support Damon. He does back him in the council room there. And they'll have more dealings together later on.
Okay.
We find out Damon is married to Ray. Did they say her name was Ray or
Ray Royce? Right. Yeah. What are you looking at me for?
I just can't remember what it was exactly. That's when we find out that he's married to her. They want him to go back to his wife, but he doesn't want to do that. He doesn't.
I don't wanna.
They're saying you haven't been seen in the Vale or at Runestone for quite some time.
Yeah.
So Otto and Damon clearly fucking hate each other.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that.
And immediately start talking shit. Otto's wife has died recently, and Damon just starts pressing the wound there pretty hard. Mostly because he knows nothing's going to happen to him. He's the king's brother.
What are you going to do to me, man?
Yeah, you're not going to do shit to me. So then we're introduced to another character who I don't remember how much she's in this, but her name's Massaria. She's a whore. And
are you a whore?
Yeah, and she's banging Damon. And then we just kind of see there that Damon is concerned about the succession. Like he's worried about losing his place. It's one of those things in Westeros, like the second sons, there's not much for them to do. Like, like say we're in Westeros, you're screwed, bud. You're probably gonna you're probably gonna find yourself at like the Night's Watch, or you're gonna find yourself someplace, maybe Kingsguard. You'd be a Kingsguard.
What are you talking about? He gets to bang all the chicks. So I mean, I get to bang all the chicks.
Oh, okay. But you don't get any of like the lands or titles or anything like that.
Or
so
Iron
second
Throne.
sons, so second sons usually got to kind of figure things out for themselves. I mean, your name can take you a ways, but so I think he's kind of worried about his position.
Yeah, for sure. He's got a future to think about, people.
Yeah.
I want to spend my life cutting people's balls off and banging whores.
Yeah, that's not there's no future.
That's not a way to make a career.
Yeah, there's no future in that. So then we get the tournament. This is definitely like the high point of the episode for me. I was pretty blown away, mostly because in the tournament that we see in Game of Thrones, nothing like this happens.
Okay.
And
in terms of what?
I think the carnage.
Oh, the actual tournament carnage? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So we're not including the other carnage.
Oh no. God,
yeah.
no.
Okay. That's what I was trying to break down.
Yeah. This tournament's fucking crazy.
It's a good tournament.
I think a big part of it is it's like Rainey says, it's been 70 years since King Maegor died, and that was the last war.
Some pent-up aggression.
Yeah, there hasn't been a war in a really long time. And yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Tensions are high.
Yeah.
In Game of Thrones, we've got a lot more peaceful tournament happening. The only person who kind of freaks out is the Mountain, Gregor Clegane. But even that is like it's stopped. Like it's, nobody gets killed.
Right.
But in that, it had only been like 15 or 16 years since Robert's Rebellion.
Yeah.
And even since then, like the Greyjoy Rebellion. So there'd been massive wars close,
Right.
So this tournament is fucking brutal. I can't remember at what point it starts getting really brutal, but then it's just like one after another. Guys are just getting like beat to death, or
I mean, it's like
an axe to the face, or
it just starts off where just like it's simple jousting, and then it's like somebody gets pissed off, and then they just like decide we're gonna draw swords on each other, or axes, or what's the one that guy uses against Damon? The spike ball.
Is it a Morning Star?
Is it a Morning Star? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's
I don't
a
know
Morning
what they
Star.
call them. Okay. Yeah. It just once one person does that, it's like everybody wants to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got Damon calling out Otto Hightower's son. Did you catch that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
In the bout, it's going to be a lot easier to pick up on who a lot of these guys are if you make yourself familiar with some of these sigils.
Right.
Yeah, it'll make it a little easier to tell what's going on. And yeah, he pulls the Hightower was whooping up on him, and then he pulls a dirty move and takes out the horse. I feel like that was kind of it's all downhill from there,
man.
Yeah, it's all downhill from there.
Yeah. Also, I was wondering, I couldn't remember if Damon basically started all that, where everybody was getting off their horse and fighting each other, or if they were just kind of a part of it.
I mean, that was the first one, wasn't it? That was the first tilt.
That's what I was wondering. Well, first fight? No, there was other ones before that.
No, that was the first. that was the first like joust.
Joust?
Yeah,
No,
it was
I
him
think
against
there
the
was other ones
Hightower.
before that.
And then he and Kristen Cole fight.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe okay.
Yeah, those are different. Those are different. Because Damon beats everybody and Kristen Cole beats everybody, and then they go up against each other at the end.
Okay.
Yeah. And in between, there's just a bunch of guys killing each other in these little fights.
You don't even matter. Why are you fighting?
Yeah. Which is crazy. I heard somebody else bring up that like they must be a lot of like second sons and stuff there, a lot of like
Maybe.
uncles and like people who don't really matter, because killing like a Stark heir or a Lannister heir or somebody like that could cause a blood feud that would start a massive war, you know?
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So like, how did you feel about like the way the tournament was shot and everything? It felt like a fucking movie, didn't it?
It was good. I was actually
Like I didn't
surprised.
feel like I was watching a TV show. Like I felt like this
No.
whole episode that I was watching a movie.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. Um, yeah, I thought it was shot really good.
So the whole tournament, we're kind of going back and forth between what's going on with Viserys and Rhaena. And yeah, I mean, that's just a really tough scene. It's like we
Yeah.
said, what call do you make? If you're Viserys, do you not make the call and possibly lose both of them? Do you try to save one? It's a big decision.
Yeah. I'll be honest, when he made his decision, I honestly thought that it was going to end up being a girl instead of a boy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I thought, yeah, it's going to be a girl, bro. And then it was like, oh, it's a boy. And that was like, oh, wait. No, they're going to kill that kid.
Yeah.
And they did. The writers being there.
I didn't really remember what happened, but I knew I felt like that was going to happen. I feel like the baby was not going to make it one way or the other, because this is about the dance. This is about the battle for the succession,
Right. Yeah.
And I know it's between Damon and Raniera, so it's not,
Yeah.
not between Damon and the baby. The war
Right.
between Damon and the baby. Yeah, and so neither of them make it. It's kind of the same as if he had not chosen at all.
Done anything. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we've also got the fight between Damon and Kristen Cole. So I think, if I remember right, Kristen Cole is going to wind up being a Kingsguard for somebody. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure he becomes Kingsguard,
Okay.
but there's a lot of stuff with him, but I don't remember everything. My instinct is saying he kind of winds up being a scumbag, I think, but
He didn't.
but
Well, he wasn't giving it off at that point, man.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
half Dornish and half Stormlander, I guess you'd say. I don't know. The Stormlands are like just another area in Westeros.
Okay. I've heard that name before, so.
And he's just a commoner. He's not of noble birth or anything.
Right.
Which I kind of don't know how he wound up fighting in this tournament. They don't just let anybody into these things. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look
Maybe he
into
lied
some
his
more
way.
on
Maybe it was kind of like what's the
Knight's
Heath
Tale?
Ledger movie?
Knight's Tale.
Yeah, Nice Tale.
Knight's Tale.
Yeah, maybe it's kind of like that where he lied. Oh, well, I think he said Ice Tale, and I'm like, what?
Ice Tale. Ice Age.
Ice Age.
Uh,
Yeah, no, Nice Tale, kind of where he kind of lied his way into.
yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look up some more on Kristen Cole. I can't remember what his whole thing is.
Okay.
and he bests Damon in the fight, which is pretty impressive. Like Damon is a badass fighter, and he's got a dark sister, so it's probably how he winds up Kingsguard.
Probably so.
We've got the funeral for Rhaena and little baby Balon.
Little baby Balon.
Yeah. And it's just kind of a short scene. And then Raniera has Cyrax burn the funeral pyres. There's these guys, we didn't really talk about them early on when you first see them, who are kind of like tending to the dragons.
Yeah.
At the time when House Targaryen had a lot of dragons, there's an order of guys who are called like the Dragon Keepers or something like that, and they basically take care of them and look
Train
after
them
them,
and whatnot,
yeah,
yeah.
stuff like that. And so I feel like we're going to be seeing these guys around. They've already shown them in like 2 scenes in the first episode, so
Which is kind of funny, cool too, because if you're saying there's going to be a time jump, back at that first scene, one of the guys you could tell he was like brand new because the older guy was kind of training him and trying to get him to make some of the calls, and he was trying to do it, but it's like he couldn't. He didn't have a grasp on it yet, and so the older guy had to step in and do the job for him. So maybe that'll be kind of one of those things where when we get to the time jump, you'll see that the younger guy from the first scene more experienced now.
yeah. No, for sure. There's a lot of people who they cast that are just like kind of throwaway. Like you won't see really.
Right. Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
not saying
'cause-
he will. I'm just saying that'd be kind of cool if he was.
No,
Kinda took over that
well,
spot.
yeah, kind of unrelated to that. I was just saying like there's people who've been cast that like in the first episode for sure, maybe first couple, but they won't be around like
Right.
after that. It'll be like their kids that we're dealing with, you know?
Right.
In the same way that we won't be dealing with like Viserys forever, we'll be dealing with Rhaenyra, you know?
Right.
Yeah, and then she burns the pyres. They give a little Dracarys there, which was I don't fire burn or something in Valyrian, but yeah, you heard that a lot in Game of Thrones.
Right.
Otto sends Alicent to keep Viserys company while he's model training in there.
Right.
Oh
man.
Yeah, Otto's just an ambitious guy, kind of like Damon says later, and he's seeing an opportunity here now.
I wonder if he was trying to almost like offer his daughter up as
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for
Because
sure.
he seems like he's basically the right hand man, right? Of the king.
Yeah, he's the hand of the
Advisor or
king.
whatever. Okay, he's the hand of king. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. He just he seems like a good guy, but yeah, he seems like, especially when he did that, it was like, okay, he's trying to jump in at an opportune time. So
For
but
sure.
then at the same time, he's probably trying to, he's probably trying to look out for himself and his daughter, trying to give his daughter a future too, because who knows what, her future looks like.
I don't think anything happens there, but it's just kind of he's trying to get her in there to like start laying the groundwork, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then we've got Damon in the brothel. And the heir for a day rumor. It's not a confirmed thing if Damon actually did say that, if he did make the joke that his nephew was heir for a day. Otto, I don't know if you're picking up on this. Otto really doesn't like Damon.
No.
So I could see Otto bending things around to
make it
look a lot worse.
Right. Manipulate things. Yeah.
Yeah. mean, Damon doesn't defend himself in the throne room, but I don't know. I also don't know if he's the kind to be like, that guy's a liar,
But no, I didn't say that.
I think that might just be something he kind of takes in and he's just like, oh, okay, note. I will remember that, Otto.
Duly noted. Yeah.
So yeah, we get just the little speech in the brothel there. A lot of awkward things going on there. A lot of people freezing in place mid banging. I don't know if you noticed that.
I did.
But yeah,
And
that
like
was
I think there was
odd.
like the dancers or whatever, those two girls up on the table, like they were dancing like normal speed or whatever, but then like the moment he started speaking, like they slowed. It like slowed way down. It's like, what the hell?
Like everybody stops. Like everybody just stops exactly the way they were. And there's definitely like people like mid banging that are just like, yeah.
Oh my God, man.
So then Damon brings him into the throne room. Just a couple things from that scene. He's pretty upset with him. He's tossing him out of court. He wants him to go back to Runestone, go back to the Vale. That's when we see. Is it the first scene where we see Blackfire? I think it is.
Yeah, I believe so. I don't remember ever seeing it in another scene.
Okay, so it's the first time.
Maybe he had it in his sheath, but
yeah,
but yeah.
And then that's when we also see the throne cut Viserys again.
Right.
Which just more of the same. Like these are just wounds that are going untreated. Like we're not fixing the problem here.
Yeah. Like, do I really have to sit on this throne? Can I get a pillow or something, man, to kind of like relax on? Be like, I'm sitting on pin needles, man. God dang it, man.
So at this point, this is kind of when Viserys is realizing all his mistakes here. He always wanted a male heir, but he's kind of having this realization that, Rhaenyra is who it should be.
Has there been a queen, though?
Like no, there's never been a queen.
So, yeah, because that's kind of what I got from the way they were talking, too. So,
yeah, there's never been a queen.
Okay.
So they're in a room together where there's the skull of a dragon called Valerian the Black Dread.
Yeah.
Did you see how big that thing was?
Yeah, I suppose to say, man, that thing is massive.
Like when you see her next to Cyrax and you're like, okay, that's a big dragon. And then you see the skull of Valerian. It's like, what the hell?
Oh, Cyrax is a baby. Okay.
Yeah. And kind of the thing with dragons is like the older they are, like as they keep getting older, they will always continue to grow as long as they have the food and the space to do it in.
Yeah.
And yeah, he lived to be super old. He was like I can't remember if he was an egg or a hatchling whenever the Targaryens first left Valyria.
Okay.
So he was pretty old. And he just talks to her about power, basically. He says, what do you see when you look at the dragons? It's power. It's the power that we hold over Westeros. And then, we get that kind of, I don't know how I feel about that because it's not confirmed anywhere. About Viserys saying that like it's just an illusion, it's the illusion of power,
right?
Which I don't really think. I don't know. I don't really think that's true. Because Aegon,
do you think though? Do you think he's trying to tell her that though to try to like, I don't know, make her kind of wake her up and say, I mean, you have to work for this. It's not, you have to work to keep this power in check or whatever, or the illusion
Yeah.
in check or whatever. When it's like, yeah, I mean, it's real, but it's like, hey, you know, you need to put in the work. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think I kind of get you.
I do like the part where he referenced Song of Ice and Fire.
Oh, I don't like that. I don't.
You don't what? Okay, what? I mean, I don't. Again, I've never watched any, Game of Thrones episodes or whatever. I know what all that's about, though. But,
yeah, it's just really gratuitous because, and quote me on this, I feel like we're probably not going to hear another thing about this at all over the entire series. It was literally just like a little, hey, remember Game of
throw that
Thrones?
at you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't really care for that. But
yeah,
I mean,
but I mean, isn't it a deal though? He's trying to tell her, look, this, this person had this dream. It's gonna come true. It's gonna happen, and not. I don't think he's specifically saying her, but like, I mean, you never know. It's possible because they don't know when exactly it's gonna happen. This dream of an apocalyptic event, basically. They don't know when it's going to happen, but it's like you have to prepare. You have to keep telling that story so every king or queen that comes along knows, because didn't he basically say that it's our job to unite the kingdoms to fight this common enemy to keep this from happening, right?
Yeah.
So it's like he's trying to tell. The only reason he really said that to her was, I have to pass this on because it was passed on to me, and I'm going to pass it on to you. And then if you have children or whoever you're giving the throne to, you have to pass it on to them too, because it's like they have to understand that with this throne comes this responsibility from this dream.
Yeah.
But at the same time too, I do agree with you. I think at the same time, they were kind of like, hey, we're going to throw this little Game of Thrones little nostalgia at you.
Yeah.
So people be like, oh my God, Game of Thrones.
It was just a little callbacky, a little too callbacky for me.
I got you. Yeah.
And I also I know the thing with the dagger, like he's like, he touches the dagger at his side. Like that's the dagger in the end, like of Game of Thrones that's used to kill the Night King.
La 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 la.
So like, I don't know. It just felt too gratuitous.
Yeah. Okay.
But we'll see. I mean, yeah, if we never hear about it again, then I'll be like, okay, I don't know.
No, it will be like Michael and Polly over and over and over every episode. Song of Ice and Fire and this dagger.
Hope not. We've got the Swearing of Fealty, and some people are a little more happy about it than others.
Yeah.
If you see, the Baratheon was not super happy about swearing his fealty to her.
Yeah. Which again, I think one of the things too is the whole deal of, like they said, they've never had a queen before, take the throne. So it's like, I think that's kind of one thing that kind of goes with it.
For sure. But doesn't that ultimately,
like,
yeah, I know, but doesn't that ultimately just like boil down to like sexism,
Yeah.
Like being like sexist?
So.
Because
yeah, I think so.
Like why, like, yeah, it's unprecedented, but like, why would it matter? Like, I'm not saying, like, I'm putting another adult, like on the throne. I'm not asking, I'm not asking you guys to do what this like 5-year-old says,
Right, exactly.
Like, yeah. Like it's a competent like person. I don't know why it matters that it's
no, I'm with you on that. Yeah.
And then while people are like swearing in fealty, they're kind of wrapping up the episode. They show Damon making his getaway. He's getting out of there, and he's taking.
Is that his whore?
Yeah, he's taking Massaria with him.
I assumed that was, but I wasn't for sure.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah.
Is he going back to kill his wife? Is what I'm trying to say.
I don't think so.
Okay.
That'd be pretty brutal. That would like ignite a bunch of shit like in the Vale like that. Yeah.
It's Damon, bro. So
yeah, you never know with him.
He seems to like chaos. So
Yeah, then we see him flying off on his dragon. I can't remember the name. It's Bloodworm, the Bloodworm.
Bloodworm. Ew.
We're going to see a lot of really cool looking dragons over the course of the show.
Okay.
A lot of different variations and stuff. It's going to be cool to see, but there's a ton of dragons in this. Right now, there's like 10. I can't remember how many were involved in the dance, but I'm pretty sure it was a lot more than that.
Okay.
So,
okay.
And then they went with a bold move here and decided to close out the episode and the credits with the actual Game of Thrones theme, not just like a variation on it. Like it was straight up like one of the GOT themes.
What'd you think about that?
I didn't have as much of a problem with that.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. In reference to what we were just talking about with a Song of Ice and Fire callback and the dagger.
Yeah. Because, I mean, they've got it in the title. It's like a Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, or House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones. I can't remember like how they've got it in the title, but it's like in there.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm cool with them using the same property type stuff. I just don't want a bunch of member berries. Like, I don't need to member anything. We're in the past. Like, I shouldn't be, like
I shouldn't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. If we're in a show that's set in, post Game of Thrones, like, yeah, that's fine. Sprinkle me in some member berries. But in a show that happens like almost 200 years before, there should be very little going on that I'm like, oh,
I see what you did there.
I remember that. I shouldn't remember that.
Pulling the whole Leonardo DiCaprio thing.
Oh, cool. That's gonna wrap it up for this episode. We're gonna be back next week with episode 2 for you guys. If you're liking things so far, make sure you go over to Is Survived by Pro on Twitter. You can also follow me on my personal at Joshua Lynn Gary on Twitter. You can find us on YouTube at Is Survived by Productions. You can check out our other show, the Red Right Hand Podcast, in a few of those places. We should have, I think we're doing everything on one page, right? So when you go,
everything's on one page here.
Okay, cool.
You should, you should be able to, like, if you're on your podcast service or whatever, Apple, Spotify,
let's say we're on Spotify.
So if you're on Spotify, I believe, I haven't tested this theory yet because we haven't posted this episode as we're recording it, but now we have, anyway. So I believe you can just go in there and type in the search bar, Throne. What's it called? Throne of the Dragon.
Throne of the Dragon.
Yeah. What's our podcast? Yeah, I think you should be able just to do that, and it'll pull up just our one page, which is Survived by Productions, which will have all of our podcasts: Red Right Hand Podcast, Throne of the Dragon Podcast, and History of the Course Podcast.
But if you're like, hey, I like these guys. I like what they're doing. I want to see what else they're up to. You want to make sure to, you can do a search for Is Survived by Productions on any of those. And it's kind of our umbrella there. On the Spotify, you'll be able to find episodes of the Red Right Hand Podcast, as well as the Throne of the Dragon Podcast, and also our new show, History of the Cores, which will be releasing episodes for starting soon. So make sure you guys go and like and follow and leave a review on every one of those things. There's so many. Just pick one. Just do one.
Just do it. Just do it.
And we will see you guys back here next week.
All right. See you.